Look, I'm not saying the Galactic Pet Exhibition was asking for trouble, but when you gather the galaxy's most pampered, overly groomed creatures in one place and slap a prize of 50,000 credits on the table, you're basically begging for someone like me to show up. The name's Jake Morrison, and I'm what you'd call a freelance cargo hauler, which is a fancy way of saying I move questionable boxes from point A to point B without asking too many questions. I was on Harmony 7's station making a delivery of what was definitely not stolen Andromedan silk when I saw the banner. 32nd Annual Galactic Pet Exhibition, celebrating the galaxy's most refined companions. Refined. That was the word that got me. I looked down at Mr. Whiskers, my orange tabby cat, who was currently sitting in the open cargo bay, licking his own butt with the dedication of a Zen master. His left ear had a chunk missing from a fight with my neighbor's cat back on Earth. His whiskers were crooked. One eye was perpetually half-closed, giving him a look of permanent skepticism about the universe's life choices. "You thinking what I'm thinking, buddy?" I asked. Mr. Whiskers paused his grooming to stare at me with that special look cats have. The one that says they're judging you and you're coming up short. The prize breakdown was beautiful. 50,000 credits, a year's supply of premium starship fuel, and, most importantly, a trophy that looked like it was made of actual gold, which I could definitely pawn for at least another 10,000. I did some quick mental math. My ship needed new stabilizers. I owed money to 3 different fuel stations. And I'd been eating nothing but reconstituted protein bars for 2 months because real food costs real money. I looked at the registration requirements, open to all sentient beings and their non-sentient companions. All species welcome, provided they meet basic safety standards. Then, in smaller text, following the incident of 2,847, all aggressive species are strictly prohibited. This includes, but is not limited to, Plutonian slime worms, Venusian snap lizards, and anything from Sector 9 that has more than 8 legs and acid for blood. I looked at Mr. Whiskers again. He'd moved on from butt-licking to staring intensely at absolutely nothing in the corner of the cargo bay. Classic cat behavior. Aggressive, this furball, the guy who was scared of the vacuum cleaner, who ran away from his own reflection, who once fell off the couch while sleeping. Sure, there was that incident where he'd somehow gotten into the ventilation system and I'd found him 3 days later, surrounded by what appeared to be the corpses of 17 station rats, looking enormously pleased with himself. But that was just, instinct. Nature. Circle of life stuff. Mr. Whiskers, I said solemnly, how would you like to become a champion? He yawned, showing me all his teeth and a tongue that looked like sandpaper. Then he flopped over on his side and started purring. I took that as a yes. Listen, I knew it was a long shot, but 50,000 credits? For walking a cat around and letting some aliens coo over him? I'd done worse for less money. Way worse. There was this job on Titan involving fermented bacteria cultures that I still have nightmares about. Besides, how hard could it be? Cats are cute. Aliens love cute things. I'd seen enough holovids to know that the universal constant across all species is that everybody loses their minds over small, fluffy creatures. It's practically a law of physics. I scooped up Mr. Whiskers, who went limp in that annoying way cats do when you're trying to carry them, making himself approximately 3 times heavier through some kind of feline dark magic. "Come on, champ," I said, heading toward the registration desk. "Let's go win ourselves a fortune." Mr. Whiskers meowed. It was not an encouraging meow. It was the kind of meow that suggested he knew exactly how this was going to end and was already planning to make it my problem. I should have listened to that meow. The registration desk was manned, if you could call it that, by a Qualrian named Flibbit. Qualrians have 6 arms, compound eyes, and the general demeanor of someone who's permanently one minor inconvenience away from a complete nervous breakdown. Flibbit was wearing what I assumed was the alien equivalent of a customer service smile, which on a Qualrian looks like they're about to either throw up or ask for your manager. "Welcome to the 32nd Annual Galactic Pet Exhibition," Flibbit said in that overly cheerful voice that people use when they're dead inside. "Are you here to register a companion?" "Sure am," I said, hefting Mr. Whiskers onto the counter. He immediately sat down and started washing his face with one paw, completely unconcerned with the fact that he was about to become a galaxy-famous show cat. Flibbit's compound eyes focused on Mr. Whiskers, then on me, then back to Mr. Whiskers. 4 of his arms started typing on holographic screens while the other 2 nervously fidgeted with registration forms. "Species?" Flibbit asked. "Cat. Felis catus. From Earth." The typing stopped. All 6 arms froze mid-motion. Earth, Flibbit repeated slowly. As in, Sol System Earth? The Death World? Hey now, we prefer to call it a high-gravity paradise with a robust ecosystem. Flibbit was now frantically pulling up files on his screen. I couldn't read the alien script, but I could see images of Earth, and let me tell you, the Galactic database does not make our planet look good. There were pictures of hurricanes, volcanoes, great white sharks, and for some reason, a really angry goose. Your planet, Flibbit said, his voice climbing an octave, has gravity twice the galactic standard. Your atmosphere contains oxygen at levels that would be literally toxic to 60% of known species. Your oceans have creatures that can swallow a Qualrian whole. Your land has predators with fangs the size of my smallest arm. Your weather regularly tries to kill you. And according to this, you invented a food called hot sauce that you consume voluntarily for entertainment. Yeah, but it says here that humans are classified as persistence predators who used to chase prey until it died of exhaustion. That was a long time ago. We're very civilized now. We have Netflix. Flibbit was hyperventilating, which for a Qualrian involves all 6 arms fanning their face simultaneously. And this creature, this cat, what is its natural habitat? My spaceship. Sometimes the bed. Usually wherever I'm trying to sit. Its original habitat, Flibbit said, through what I was pretty sure were clenched mandibles. Oh, well, cats are from Earth, so, same deal. But they're totally harmless. Look at him. He's adorable. Mr. Whiskers chose that exact moment to notice one of the floating registration drones buzzing nearby. His eyes went wide, his pupils dilated, to full saucers, and his butt started doing that little wiggle thing that cats do right before they absolutely ruin someone's day. No, I said. Mr. Whiskers, no, we talked about this. You promised to be good. Mr. Whiskers launched himself off the counter like a furry missile. The drone never stood a chance. There was a brief mid-air struggle, some truly impressive acrobatics. And then Mr. Whiskers landed back on the counter with the drone clutched in his paws, bunny kicking it with his back legs while biting its antenna. Decorative herbivore, I shouted over the sound of expensive equipment being murdered. He's a decorative herbivore, very peaceful, loves plants. This is just, playful affection. The drone sparked and died. Mr. Whiskers, satisfied with his kill, released it and went back to washing his face like nothing had happened. Flibbit stared at the destroyed drone, then at Mr. Whiskers, then at me. That will be added to your registration fee, he said weakly. So we're in. I'm going to regret this, Flibbit muttered, all 6 arms typing rapidly. But regulations state that unless a species is specifically listed on the prohibited roster, and Earth felines are not currently listed, I cannot legally deny your registration. Fantastic. What's the competition looking like? Flibbit pulled up a holographic display. We have 47 registered contestants this year. The favorites are Lady Vex with Princess Fluffington, a purebred crystalline companion. She's won 3 years running. Then there's Xander from Empathia with Glorp, a telepathic emotional support blob, very popular with the judges. And Captain Rin has entered his melodious fern, which can sing in 17 different harmonic frequencies. I looked at the holograms. Princess Fluffington looked like someone had crossed a ferret with a disco ball and given it a superiority complex. Glorp was literally just a purple blob that changed colors. The melodious fern was a plant. A fancy plant. Sure, but still a plant. Then I looked at Mr. Whiskers, who had found a sunbeam and was sprawled in it like he owned the place. One leg stuck straight up in the air while he groomed his inner thigh with zero shame. Yeah, I said. We got this. Flibbit handed me a registration badge with all 6 arms trembling. The opening ceremony is in 1 hour. Please, and I cannot stress this enough, keep your Earth creature under control. Define control. Not killing anything would be a good start. Hey, Mr. Whiskers only kills things that deserve it. Drones, bugs, my sleep schedule. He's very selective. As we walked away, I heard Flibbit muttering to himself while pulling up Earth's file again. Something about updating the prohibited species list and why he didn't get paid enough for this. Mr. Whiskers purred in my arms, looking up at me with those half-closed eyes. Okay, buddy, I said. New rule. No murdering anything until after we win the prize money. Think you can handle that? He bit my hand, gently, but enough to make his point. This was going to be interesting. The main exhibition arena was basically what you'd get if someone with too much money and not enough common sense decided to build a pet show inside a luxury hotel. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling. The floor was polished to a mirror shine. There were velvet ropes everywhere, which seemed optimistic considering half the contestants weren't even bipedal. I'd managed to stuff Mr. Whiskers into a carrier for the walkover, and he'd expressed his feelings about this by yowling like I was murdering him the entire way. Now, as we waited in the staging area with the other contestants, he sat in my lap, shedding orange hair all over my only clean shirt and plotting my death with his eyes. Lady Vex stood nearby with Princess Fluffington, and I had to admit, they were an intimidating pair. Lady Vex was a crystalline, which meant she looked like someone had carved a person out of living gemstone, given her the personality of a tax audit. Princess Fluffington sat on a custom hover platform, her iridescent fur brushed to perfection, wearing what appeared to be a diamond collar. "Is that creature shedding?" Lady Vex asked, her voice dripping with the kind of disdain usually reserved for people who don't separate their recycling. "It's called molting," I lied. "Very natural. Sign of excellent health. It looks mangy. He prefers ruggedly handsome." On my other side, Xander the Empathian was having what appeared to be a deep emotional moment with Glorp, his telepathic blob. Empathians are basically walking mood rings who can sense feelings, which sounds cool until you realize they burst into tears at minor inconveniences. "I can feel your companion's energy," Xander said, wiping away a tear. "Such raw emotion, such primal instinct. He's planning violence." "That's just his face," I said. "He always looks like that." "No, I mean he's actively fantasizing about attacking Princess Fluffington right now, in great detail. He's considering 17 different angles of approach." I looked down at Mr. Whiskers, who was staring at Princess Fluffington with the intensity of a serial killer choosing his next victim. "Mr. Whiskers, no." His tail twitched. In cat language, that meant he was absolutely going to do it, and there was nothing I could do to stop him. The announcer, a floating holographic head the size of a small car, boomed across the arena. "Welcome, beings of all species, to the 32nd Annual Galactic Pet Exhibition. Our first event, the Obedience Trial." Oh no, the Obedience Trial was exactly what it sounded like. Pets had to complete a series of tasks demonstrating their training and responsiveness to commands. It was all very formal and structured, which are two words that have never been associated with cats in the history of the universe. Princess Fluffington went first. Lady Vex called out commands in her crystalline voice, and Princess Fluffington executed them flawlessly. Sit, stay, roll over, navigate the obstacle course, retrieve the hovering orb. It was like watching a really pretentious Olympic gymnast, if the gymnast was a ferret disco ball hybrid and thought she was better than you. The judges, a panel of 5 different species I couldn't identify, awarded her a perfect score. The crowd applauded politely. Glorp went next. Xander didn't even have to speak. He just thought his commands, and Glorp oozed through the course, changing colors to indicate compliance. The judges loved it. They called it harmonious and spiritually connected. Captain Rin's melodious fern literally sang its way through the course, hitting notes that made my fillings vibrate. Another perfect score. Then it was our turn. I carried Mr. Whiskers to the starting line and set him down. He immediately sat down and started licking his paw. "Mr. Whiskers," I said, "sit." He was already sitting, but he stood up, turned around, and sat, facing the other direction. "Okay, stay." He walked away. "Come back." He lay down. "Navigate the obstacle course." Mr. Whiskers looked at the carefully arranged jumps and tunnels and platforms, yawned so wide I could see his tonsils, and walked directly through the middle of it, knocking over 3 obstacles. Then he hopped onto the judging table, sat down in the middle of their scoring tablets, and started grooming his butt. The arena was dead silent. "Is it broken?" one judge whispered. "I think it's ignoring him on purpose," another said. "Such confidence," a third judge murmured. "Such independent thinking. It refuses to be controlled by arbitrary constructs of obedience." "Wait, what?" "The Earth creature demonstrates a philosophical rejection of traditional power dynamics," the head judge announced. "It operates according to its own internal logic, unburdened by the need for external validation." Remarkable. They gave us 73 points out of 100. Not perfect, but way better than we deserved. Lady Vex looked like she was about to shatter into a million expensive pieces. The second event was the talent show, And this was where things got really weird. Princess Fluffington performed an interpretive dance that I'm pretty sure was about the meaning of existence, or possibly just about how great she was. It involved a lot of twirling and sparkles. The crowd went wild. Glorp did this color-changing meditation thing that was actually kind of hypnotic. The judges wiped tears from their eyes and called it transcendent. The melodious ferns sang opera, actual opera, in multiple languages I didn't recognize. It was objectively impressive, even though opera makes me want to stick my head in an airlock. Then it was our turn again. I put Mr. Whiskers in the center of the performance area. Okay, buddy, do something impressive. Mr. Whiskers sat down, made direct eye contact with me, and coughed up a hairball. Not a small hairball, a legendary hairball, the kind of hairball that suggests he'd been saving it for a special occasion. It hit the polished floor with a wet splat that echoed through the arena. The silence was deafening. Did it just regurgitate? A judge asked. I believe so, another replied. So raw, the head judge whispered. So visceral. It's making a statement about the artificial nature of performance itself. By rejecting the premise of talent, it reveals the emptiness of our pursuit of spectacle. They gave us 68 points. I was beginning to think these judges had no idea what they were looking at, and were just making stuff up as they went along. Mr. Whiskers, completely unbothered by the existential crisis he'd apparently created, walked back to me and demanded treats. Lady Vex's crystalline face had gone from clear to cloudy. This is ridiculous, she hissed. That thing is a disaster. That thing, I said, is an artist. 2 events down, and somehow, against all logic and reason, we were still in this Bristiberd competition. Mr. Whiskers purred. I was pretty sure he was laughing at all of us. The 3rd event was called Beauty and Grace, which I knew was going to be a problem the moment they announced it. Mr. Whiskers has many qualities. Beauty and grace are not on the list. The other contestants spent the 30-minute preparation period in the grooming stations, which looked like luxury spas designed by people who had never seen an actual animal. Princess Fluffington was getting her iridescent fur brushed by 3 attendants simultaneously, while Lady Vex supervised with the intensity of a military general. Glorp was being polished with specialized cloths that made him shimmer. The melodious fern was getting its leaves individually moisturized. I looked at Mr. Whiskers. He had that crusty thing in the corner of his left eye that cats sometimes get. His fur was sticking up in a weird cowlick on his head. There was a piece of the hairball still stuck to his chin. Okay, I said, pulling out a brush I'd borrowed from the station's supply closet. Let's make you presentable. Mr. Whiskers saw the brush coming and transformed into a furry ball of knives. I managed to get 3 strokes in before he bit me hard enough to draw blood, and then jumped onto a nearby table, knocking over someone's carefully arranged display of grooming products. Good enough, I said, sucking on my wounded thumb. The Beauty and Grace competition involved walking your pet down a runway while judges evaluated their physical appearance and movement. It was basically a fashion show for creatures that had no concept of fashion. Princess Fluffington went first, and I had to admit, she knew how to work a runway. She practically floated down the platform, her fur catching the light and creating rainbow patterns. Every movement was calculated for maximum elegance. Lady Vex walked beside her, radiating smug superiority. Perfect score. Obviously. Glorp oozed down the runway while somehow looking dignified, which shouldn't be possible for a blob, but apparently was. Captain Rin's fern swayed gracefully, leaves rustling in a non-existent breeze, humming a gentle melody. More perfect scores. Then they called our names. I picked up Mr. Whiskers and walked to the start of the runway. The moment I set him down, he sat down and started licking his paw. Again. Come on, buddy, walk. He looked at me with those half-closed eyes that clearly said he knew what I wanted and had decided against it. I tried to pick him up to carry him down the runway. He went full liquid cat, somehow slipping through my hands and landing on his feet. Then, just to spite me, he started walking down the runway. Backward, the crowd murmured. The judges leaned forward. Mr. Whiskers made it halfway down the runway, walking backward, then suddenly spotted Princess Fluffington, who was watching from the winner's platform with her nose in the air. His eyes went wide. His ears flattened. That little butt wiggle started. No, I said. Mr. Whiskers, no, we talked about this. We need the prize money. I'll buy you the fancy tuna. The expensive stuff from Alpha Centauri. Mr. Whiskers, I swear to God. He launched himself off the runway directly at Princess Fluffington. Now, here's the thing about cats. They don't actually want to hurt most things they attack. They just want to assert dominance and maybe play a little murder simulator. Mr. Whiskers wasn't trying to kill Princess Fluffington. He just wanted to introduce himself in the traditional Earth predator way. Princess Fluffington, however, had never been threatened in her entire pampered life. She took one look at the orange furball of death flying toward her, let out a shriek that shattered 2 of the crystal chandeliers, and fainted, just straight up passed out on her hover platform. Lady Vex screamed. Xander burst into tears because he could feel everyone's panic. Glorp turned a color I'm pretty sure represented existential dread. Mr. Whiskers landed. On the platform, sniffed the unconscious. Princess Fluffington decided she was boring and started grooming himself. Security arrived. And by security, I mean 4 very large Corthian guards who looked like someone had bred a rhinoceros with a tank and given it anger management issues. That creature attacked another contestant, Lady Vex shrieked, cradling the still unconscious Princess Fluffington. It should be disqualified, arrested, launched into space. He didn't attack anyone, I said. He was just saying hello. It's a cultural thing. Cultural thing? Your creature displayed clear predatory behavior. Okay, so maybe cats have a few predatory instincts. But that's just because they're, hunters. Very minor hunters. Like they hunt bugs and stuff. Totally harmless. Flibbit appeared, all 6 arms clutching data pads, his compound eyes somehow looking even more panicked than before. I've been reviewing the Earth biological database during the competition, he said, his excited voice climbing into frequencies that probably hurt. Did you know cats are classified as apex predators? That's a strong word. It says here they have a hunting success rate higher than lions, that they kill for entertainment even when not hungry, that they toy with prey before delivering the final blow, that a single cat introduced to an island ecosystem once caused the extinction of an entire species of bird. That was one cat, and technically several cats. It was a whole thing. We've learned since then. Your creature, Flibbit continued, now gesturing dramatically with all 6 arms, is a genetically optimized killing machine that humanity domesticated for pest control, and then decided to keep as a companion animal for emotional support. When you say it like that, it sounds bad. Lady Vex pointed one crystalline finger at me. I demand this human and his murder beast be removed from the competition immediately. The head judge floated down from the judging panel. Now, let's not be hasty. The rules clearly state that aggression resulting in actual injury warrants disqualification. No injury occurred. She fainted, from surprise, not from physical harm. The judge turned to look at Mr. Whiskers, who was now lying on his back, paws in the air, looking absolutely adorable. Besides, the creature was simply demonstrating natural behavior. We cannot penalize a species for being what it is. But, however, the judge continued, we will be calling an emergency council to review Earth creature classifications before the final event. Until then, the human and his companion remain in the competition. Lady Vex looked like she was about to explode into a shower of gemstone shrapnel. Flibbit was speed typing on all his datapads simultaneously, muttering about updated prohibited species lists and early retirement. I scooped up Mr. Whiskers, who purred contentedly, completely unaware that he'd just caused an intergalactic incident. You know what? I whispered to him. I'm starting to think we might actually pull this off. He bit my ear. Behind us, Princess Fluffington finally woke up, saw Mr. Whiskers, and fainted again. Yeah, we were definitely pulling this off. The emergency council took 20 minutes to convene, and another 40 minutes to argue about whether cats qualified as weapons of mass destruction. In the end, they decided that since Mr. Whiskers hadn't technically violated any written rules, we could continue to the final event. Lady Vex filed a formal protest, then a second one. Then she tried to file a third, but Flibbit told her the paperwork queue was backed up until next century, and maybe she should focus on reviving her fainting pet. The final event was called Natural Habitat Simulation, and it was supposed to be the crown jewel of the competition. Each pet would be placed in a holographic recreation of their species' natural environment, and judged on how naturally they behaved. It was meant to showcase the authentic beauty of each creature in their element. The arena transformed into a massive multi-environment chamber. One section became a crystalline cave system for Princess Fluffington. Another became a humid meditation grotto for Glorp. A section filled with rich soil and artificial sunlight for the melodious fern. And for Mr. Whiskers, they created a generic Earth suburban house, complete with a couch, a window with a sunbeam, and a potted plant. Really nailed Earth's ecosystem there, I muttered. The judges explained the rules. Each pet would have 15 minutes in their habitat. They'd be monitored but not interfered with. Natural behavior was the goal. Authenticity was key. Princess Fluffington went first, prancing through her crystal caves like she owned them, which, to be fair, she probably did. She posed dramatically on various formations. The judges ate it up. Perfect marks for crystalline grace and environmental harmony. Glorp oozed into his grotto, and immediately started glowing with bioluminescent patterns. It was actually pretty cool. He changed colors in response to the ambient moisture, creating this whole light show thing. The judges were in tears again. More perfect marks. The melodious fern settled into its soil bed and began singing, its roots visibly deepening as it performed some kind of photosynthesis aria. Captain Rin watched with pride as his plant basically gave a concert about dirt. Naturally, perfect marks. Then it was our turn. I set Mr. Whiskers down in the simulated living room. He immediately jumped onto the couch, circled 3 times, and lay down in the sunbeam. "Well," I said, "that's pretty authentic cat behavior." The judges seemed pleased. Mr. Whiskers was doing exactly what cats do, being lazy and hogging the best spot in the house. Then the alarms started. Red lights flashed throughout the arena. A mechanical voice announced, "Warning, containment breach in Sector 7. Electrical fire detected. Emergency. Protocols initiating." Apparently, one of the environmental generators had malfunctioned. Sparks were shooting out of a control panel near the melodious fern's habitat, and actual flames were spreading across the floor toward the crystalline cave system. The crowd panicked. The judges panicked. Flibbit panicked so hard I thought all 6 of his arms were going to fall off. Security rushed in, but the fire suppression systems weren't responding. The flames were spreading fast, and they were heading directly toward where all the pets were. Princess Fluffington saw the fire and did what she did best. She fainted. Glorp saw the fire and turned a color that I'm pretty sure meant nope in blob language. He tried to ooze away, but was moving too slowly. The melodious fern started singing a panicked, discordant tune that sounded like a smoke alarm having an existential crisis. And Mr. Whiskers stood up from his sunbeam, stretched, and transformed into something I'd only seen hints of before. His pupils dilated to full black saucers, his ears flattened against his head, his body went low and predatory, his tail puffed up to twice its normal size. Every alarm bell in his tiny cat brain was ringing, and they all said the same thing: threat, neutralize, protect territory. He launched off the couch like a furry missile and hit the ground running. Not away from the fire, toward it. "Mr. Whiskers, what are you doing?" He reached the control panel and assessed the situation with the cold calculation of a seasoned hunter. The sparks were coming from a loose wire that was thrashing around like a snake, spreading fire wherever it touched. Mr. Whiskers went into full predator mode. He stalked the wire. His movements were precise, calculated, lethal. He waited for the exact right moment, then pounced, catching the wire in his paws while somehow avoiding the electrical current. He bit down on the insulation, his teeth designed by millions of years of evolution to deliver, killing bites to small prey. The wire stopped thrashing, but he wasn't done. There was a manual cutoff switch about 6 feet up the wall. Mr. Whiskers spotted it, calculated the jump, and launched himself at it. His claws extended, gripping the wall. He scrambled up like gravity was a suggestion, batted the emergency cutoff with his paw, and the power died. The fire, now without its source, started to diminish as the automated foam systems finally kicked in. The entire arena was silent. Everyone watched as Mr. Whiskers, satisfied with his work, jumped down from the wall, walked calmly back to his sunbeam, and started grooming his paw like he'd just done something as mundane as using the litter box. "Did that," Lady Vex whispered. "Did that creature just save us?" "I think," Xander said, his empathic senses probably overloading. "I think it viewed us all as part of its territory. It protected its territory." Flibbit was checking his datapad with trembling arms. According to Earth, files. Cats are solitary apex predators, with highly developed hunting instincts, problem-solving abilities that rival most sentient species, and a territorial protection drive that makes them irrationally brave in the face of danger. "You're telling me," Captain Rin said slowly, "that humans live with these creatures? Voluntarily? Humans," I said, unable to keep the pride out of my voice, "live with a lot of things. Mr. Whiskers is actually one of the safer ones." The head judge floated forward, staring at Mr. Whiskers with what I can only describe as horrified respect. "The Earth creature," he announced, "has demonstrated superior adaptability. threat assessment, and crisis response. It neutralized a dangerous situation that none of our security protocols could handle. It protected not only itself but all beings in the arena. He paused, looking at his fellow judges, who all nodded. By unanimous decision, the Earth feline is declared the winner of the 32nd annual Galactic Pet Exhibition. The crowd erupted, half in applause, half in terrified confusion. Mr. Whiskers yawned and went back to sleep in his sunbeam. Lady Vex had to be carried out. Princess Fluffington was still unconscious, and I just stood there, grinning like an idiot, watching my murder machine of a catnap peacefully while the galaxy realized what humanity had known for thousands of years. Cats are weird. Cats are unpredictable. Cats are tiny apex predators who chose to live with us, and they're absolutely unstoppable when they want to be. The award ceremony was awkward in that special way that happens when everyone's terrified of the winner. The trophy was wheeled out on a hover cart because apparently nobody wanted to get close enough to hand it to me directly. Mr. Whiskers sat on the winner's platform, looking at the giant golden statue with the kind of disdain cats reserve for anything that isn't food, a warm lap, or a small creature they can hunt. The head judge made the presentation from a safe distance of about 15 feet. Congratulations to Jake Morrison and his companion, Mr. Whiskers, for their unprecedented victory, he said, his voice only shaking a little. 50,000 credits have been transferred to your account, along with a year's supply of premium starship fuel. And the trophy? I asked. You can. Take it whenever you'd like. No rush. We'll just leave it here. Lady Vex stood in the third-place position because somehow, despite fainting twice, Princess Fluffington had scored high enough on the previous events to medal. Lady Vex looked like someone had told her that her entire net worth was now in Zimbabwean dollars from 2008. This is a travesty, she hissed, quiet enough that the judges couldn't hear but loud enough for me to enjoy. That creature is a menace. That creature, I said, is a champion. It's a monster. He prefers the term differently domesticated. Xander was in second place with Glorp, and he was Aber, crying again. But this time they seemed like happy tears, or scared tears. With Empathians, it was hard to tell. I've never felt such complex emotions, he sobbed. Your companion contains multitudes. He's simultaneously the most relaxed and most dangerous being I've ever encountered. It's beautiful and terrifying. Yeah, that's pretty much the cat experience, I said. Captain Rin had been disqualified because his melodious fern had stopped singing during the fire, and instead produced what the judges called discordant panic screaming. He didn't seem too broken up about it, though he was too busy asking me questions about Earth. So, you're telling me humans just let these apex predators live in their homes? Sleep in their beds? Touch their food? Pretty much. And they don't kill you? Not usually. I mean, sometimes they knock stuff off tables and trip you on the stairs, but that's more of a long-term murder plan than an immediate threat. Your species is insane. You're not the first person to say that. Flibbit approached with all 6 arms full of datapads, looking like he'd aged about 10 years in the last 3 hours. His compound eyes were twitching. Mr. Morrison, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I need you to sign some paperwork. Sure thing. It's a waiver, stating that you will never, under any circumstances, bring an Earth creature to this competition again. Also, we're implementing a new rule. Earth creatures now require a special permit, a psychological evaluation, and a minimum of 6 months advance notice before being allowed at any Galactic Pet Exhibition event. That seems excessive. Your cat nearly caused a diplomatic incident, gave me what I believe humans call a nervous breakdown, and somehow became a hero despite violating every principle this competition was founded on. All 6 of his arms were shaking now. Please, I'm begging you, never come back. I signed the waiver. Fair enough. Though I should mention what? Flibbit's eyes went wide. I also have a dog back home. Golden retriever named Buddy. Super friendly. Loves everyone. Flibbit made a sound that I'm pretty sure was the Qualrian equivalent of a whimper. A dog. You have a dog. Yeah, he's great. Really energetic. Loves to play. Eats everything. And I mean everything. Last week he ate my boot and then acted like I was the weird one for being upset about it. How dangerous is this dog? Oh, Buddy wouldn't hurt a fly. Well, actually, he'd definitely hurt a fly. He'd eat the fly. He eats everything. But he's harmless to people. Mostly. Unless you count the property damage. Or the drool. There's a lot of drool. Flibbit pulled up Earth files again with trembling arms. I watched his compound eyes scan the information about domestic dogs, about their wolf ancestry, their pack-hunting behavior, their bite force, their undying loyalty and enthusiasm. Your species, he said slowly, domesticated wolves. You took apex pack predators and turned them into companions. Well, technically they kind of domesticated themselves. It's a whole evolutionary thing. They realized hanging around humans meant free food, and we realized they were good at protecting us from things that wanted to eat us. Win-win. What else has your species domesticated? Oh, lots of things. Horses, cattle, chickens, ferrets, rabbits. There's this thing called a hedgehog that's basically a tiny spiky ball of attitude. Some people keep snakes, or spiders, or stop. Flibbit was hyperventilating again. I'm updating the database right now. All Earth fauna are being classified as potentially hazardous pending individual review. Even goldfish? Especially goldfish. I don't trust anything from your death world anymore. I scooped up Mr. Whiskers, who purred contentedly, blissfully unaware of the chaos he'd caused. The trophy was loaded onto my cargo hauler by a team of very nervous workers who refused to make eye contact with either of us. As I was leaving, I passed Lady Vex, who was still fuming. You haven't won, she said. Not really. Everyone knows that creature only succeeded because it's a dangerous predator that humanity was foolish enough to domesticate. You know what the funny thing is? I said. We didn't domesticate cats. Not really. They chose us. Thousands of years ago, they walked into our settlements, killed our pests, and decided we were acceptable staff. We didn't tame them. They just tolerated us enough to stick around. I scratched Mr. Whiskers behind the ears. He leaned into it, purring louder. Cats domesticated themselves, I continued, because they figured out that humans were useful. We give them food, shelter, and warmth. And in exchange, they occasionally murder things for us and let us pet them when they're in the mood. It's the most perfectly balanced relationship in the galaxy. Lady Vex stared at me. Then at Mr. Whiskers, then back at me. Your species, she said finally, is absolutely terrifying. Yeah, I said, grinning. We know. I carried Mr. Whiskers back to the ship, the trophy secured in the cargo bay, 50,000 credits richer, and with enough fuel to last a year. Mr. Whiskers immediately claimed the pilot's chair, circled 3 times, and went to sleep. I pulled up the navigation console and started plotting our next destination. Maybe I'd take some time off, visit Earth, see Buddy, maybe enter him in some kind of competition just to watch the galaxy panic again. Or maybe I'd just cruise around for a while, hauling cargo, living off the prize money, and enjoying the fact that I had the galaxy's most decorated murder machine curled up in my chair, snoring softly. My communicator beeped. A message from Flibbit. Per Galactic Regulation Update 2850A, all Earth creatures are now classified as Category 4 companion animals, requiring special permits and handling certification. Please do not bring any additional Earth fauna to public events. Without proper authorization, we are begging you. I looked at Mr. Whiskers. Hear that, buddy? You're officially Category 4. He opened one eye, looked at me with that expression that clearly said he didn't care about galactic regulations, and went back to sleep. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was updating its databases, filing paperwork, and probably having emergency meetings about the existential threat of Earth's domestic animals. And Mr. Whiskers, champion of the 32nd Annual Galactic Pet Exhibition, apex predator, and the galaxy's newest nightmare, continued his nap without a care in the universe. Humans and their pets, the galaxy's greatest mystery.